You clicked the video? Shit, better give you something then. All right, take a seat, Gary. It's time to blow people's minds. Genius. Genius, genius, genius. What is it? The modern idea of it is a decidedly narcissistic one. And it might be difficult to define, but we know it when we see it. And we often name it in terms of individuals who have been considered now immortalized as being geniuses, like Beethoven or Einstein. This idea of genius, while very romantic, is, I think, a little bit misguided. And firstly, because it's quite an inhuman idea. It's not an idea that is reflective of a human being. It's an idea of this almost like one of God's chosen thing, right? It's almost like a Dr. Manhattan-esque godlike construct where we ascend someone in the culture. We ascend them to these tremendous heights where their incredible brilliance allowed them to do something that none of us mere mortals could have done. That's one take on genius. Another take on genius is the more ancient one of the Romans and also the Greeks in their analogous idea of the daimon, which is a genius is sort of like a guardian angel that accompanies you from birth and does give you many of your best ideas, but it gives them to you in such a way that it is driving you towards your destiny. So there is a bitter sweetness to this genius. Firstly, because it's not really you who is producing your best work, but also your best work is driving you forward. It's almost like it's taking your agency away from you as you manifest your genius, right? That is my experience as an artist. Genius is not necessarily about how great or brilliant you are. It's about the inexorable compulsion to bring your ideas into manifestation and the pressure you feel if you don't manifest those ideas. So, what's friendship then? Well, friendship really has nothing much to do with that. Friendship is very personal. Friendship is not Dr. Manhattan-esque or about ascending to godhood. It's really just about two people who get along well. And so, in principle, these two things need not meet in the middle, but unfortunately there is a tendency for artistes to, out of a refusal to market their work, they tend to solicit their friends and family to appreciate their work instead. And I think that the karmic backlash of this can be very serious. So this video concerns anyone who is a creative person who's also trying to maintain friendships or loving relationships with family or otherwise. Here's the danger with bringing your art to your friends. They are your friend, okay? So you can't treat them as a substitute for your audience. You treat them as a substitute for your audience, then what happens is you extend to them the expectation of receiving validation. So you will say to them, you'll show them the work of art, and then they'll say, "Oh, that's really good, man." Or, "Oh, I really love that. Yeah, I love what you did here in this bit," okay? Now, that's the best you could expect from them, but it's not the same validation as receiving a Pulitzer Prize or getting thunderous applause in the, Thingo Theatre. Of course it's not. But that's you casting them in the role of an audience And again, if one guy shows up to your show, how much is that really, how much are you really going to be able to feel good about that? Okay, so that's not your friend's fault. So you cast your friend in the role of an audience, and you're in trouble. And the other element of this is that your friendship actually suffers. Not only are they doing an insufficient job of being an audience, you're doing an insufficient job of being their friend, because, you know, especially if you just have an idea, right? And I've done this, I'm certainly guilty of this. This is part of the reason I'm starting this YouTube channel. You know, if you have a 30-minute rant in you about X, Y, or Z, and you're gonna go get coffee with your friend and hang out with them for an hour, if half an hour of that hangout is just you dumping your idea on them, then that's sort of antithetical to friendship. You're just lecturing them at that point. You're giving them a piece of your mind, and then at the end of it, it doesn't feel good, because of course it doesn't feel good, because you're not treating them like a friend, okay? So that's what happens if you treat your friends like an audience. And then here's the other part that's even worse. You know, if you treat your friend like a critic, okay, this is even worse. And again, this is just, your friend just sort of sees that you're showing them your art, and so they are trying to help you. And so they will probably praise it, even if they don't like it very much, frankly. But they'll also probably give you constructive advice. But if you've cast them in the role of a critic, then critics and artists tend to have this antagonistic relationship. So it's hard for you to hear that advice, even if it's good advice. You're gonna have a little bit of a childish, kind of fuck you energy, well, I'm the artist, so I know what I'm doing, and I don't wanna hear about how it could use, you know, a little more of this or a little less of that, right? So if you cast your friends in the role of a critic as well, you run into problems, okay? So what that means for you as an artist is, if you want people to appreciate your genius, you know, and again, I'm not saying that you should think that you're a genius, quote unquote, but you have genius in you. Every human has genius in them, and they have to decide what they're gonna do with that. And if what you try to do with it is force your friends and family to try and carry it and validate you for your artistic decisions, that's a very dangerous game to play. So that's what that really means, is you have to find a better way to spread your message, to have a creative output. Show it to your friends and family, yes, certainly. But do not expect them to be enough. And here's my final thought about it. If you do think that what you're working on is great for whatever reason, or it's worthy, it's a worthy piece of art, or even a worthy idea or whatever, then isn't there some cosmic mercy in the fact that you just showing it to your friends and family isn't enough? If it's really a great idea, and we accept, as the Romans and Greeks did, that that idea came from above or from the ether, okay? You've been gifted that idea, so it's only right that you pay your way forward, in the sense that you make the very best effort you can to have that idea be heard by the world. And that's not going to happen by just showing your friends and family. So I think that's all I have to say about that. Hopefully, it didn't take too long. It's a really important point though, because I see a lot of artists doing this, including myself, and it's not your friend's fault that they don't get it. If they have it's almost like if you've met your friend's partner, right? You get along really well with your friend. Does that mean automatically you're gonna get along with your friend's partner? Not necessarily, okay? You're acquainted with them, you're like, oh yeah, I get it, that's cool. But it's your friendship with your friend that makes you friends, right? The partner is just someone else who you may or may not get along with, and the probability that you're going to get along with them is lower. It's because they're like, it's extraneous. You didn't become friends with them. Okay, so your friends did not become friends with your genius. They became friends with you. Respect them as friends. Okay, hopefully that has solved your life's problems, and now you can just settle down, maybe in the Bahamas somewhere. I send you my love, and I'll talk to you next time.